Hi everyone, welcome to the Ego Friendly Banter. Today I'll be channeling on Swadhyaya. Actually, I have channeled a couple of messages, but I'll just be explaining, and if anything else decides to come through, of course, it's welcome. But before that, I just wanted to say that when I stopped posting these kind of videos on my iPad, explaining everything because it took way too much time during editing, the last message that I got but did not do a video on was Swadhyaya itself. And now, about 3 to 4 months later, when I asked again to do something, to channel something, it was this message again. And at that time, the sentence that they gave me was to bloom where we are planted. That's a very cliche and very old sentence that we keep on listening. But the idea was to understand how to bloom where we are planted. And the answer that came in later months was Swadhyaya, which means self reflection, study, self study. But the thing is that wherever you are, you cannot be at peace until and unless you know yourself, until and unless you understand who you truly are. So, Swadhyaya is self study, as I said, or the knowledge of the self, which can be received through various means. We'll talk about that. It is mentioned in the eight niyamas or personal disciplines which one has to abide by or has to adhere to for a better life. There are a lot of things. Maybe I'll make another video on all these niyamas. So, one of them is Swadhyaya, knowing yourself, studying scriptures, knowing, basically knowing. But here, the knowing is not knowing of the ego, but knowing of the truth as it is, seeing things for as they are. And until and unless you see things for as they are and not based on the lenses that you wear, we'll study about that also, you will never be able to understand why something is happening the way it is. So, here we are talking about not only understanding ourselves, but also the other, and then realizing that there indeed is no difference between me and you. Everything that is outside of us is nothing but an appearance. And you are sitting here, your true self is here. We have to remove all these coats that we are wearing. So, before we get into how we can do that, let's understand how we can identify our own truth, how we can start with Swadhyaya. So, most of the things that we do, they do not come from the truth. And we just know it. Whenever something drains your energy, it's not coming from your true self. It's coming from conditioning. It's coming from this desire to maybe please somebody. Here we are talking about the right action, where your body and mind are aligned. I'll talk about this. So, when your mind, body, and soul are in alignment, once that happens, you accept yourself as you are, you accept your truth because you know your truth. Nobody's approval or rejection matters then. And then everything that you create is co-created, you know, because the universe becomes a co-creator because you know your truth, right? So before we get into all of that, all aligned action and all of that, let's know why exactly we don't know our truth. Why exactly is Swadhyaya important? Knowing ourselves important. And the main reason is conditioning. Imagine yourself as a diamond. I try to draw a good one, but I don't know. So imagine yourself as a diamond, pure Atman. Right when you were born, you were like clay. And then suddenly, a lot of stories came in. Story of the society that you grew up in, the society around you, the history of that particular land, your family, maybe your community. The culture came in, the habits came in, and then different habits and belief systems of your parents came in. Slowly, they kept on cementing themselves around that diamond, which is your true self. For example, if a community or if someone thinks that this other person is their enemy, But if this particular soul, which was born in this community, whose enemies or so called enemy is this, if the soul was born in this one, they'll think their enemy is this, right? But why these things happen are, of course, based on karma and prarabdha and past lives and everything. So we'll keep that aside for a while. But this conditioning slowly starts cementing. And everything that you do, all decisions that you take, the way that you see the world, how you sit and stand in the world, how you behave, the dreams that you dream, everything starts adhering to this. Sometimes we are afraid to see big dreams because nobody in our family has done that, has seen those kind of dreams. We are told to make ourselves smaller because you are not supposed to do that. Why? Because somebody else says so. Society says, scripture says, history says, etc., etc. But in reality, you are free. You are born like this, right? So your Atman, which is your true self, which is your soul, which will remain when you are dead and was there before you were born, the one that has no name, because this name, body, and everything, it is of this particular body, the body that you have to this day. The moment this body ends, now some might find it triggering, but it's very important to come to terms with death and things like this. So when the body ends, every label, every role that is attached to that body will end as well. Every sadness and even trauma. What will remain is the lesson, of course, or the sanskar, or the imprints which you are getting in this life. And this is, by the way, an ongoing process. It keeps on happening every day. You are becoming every day. So when we think that now I'm like this and there's no going back and all of that, I think you are underestimating the power of your Atman, of this agency that you've been given to not make choices which make you any smaller, to not choose roles, labels, or traumas, and to let them rule you. As I said, then you let your traumas, roles, labels, all of those things, even the behaviors, your relationships, everything, accept or reject something. You become exclusive. You keep on excluding. This is right, this is wrong, this is pain, this is pleasure, this is happiness, this is sadness. And then you keep on creating that divide. You start accepting or rejecting parts of yourself as well. This is good in me, this is bad in me. When you were a child, maybe you were told not to paint on the walls, and then slowly maybe you stopped painting at all because you thought that you were being a bad kid by doing that. But was that true? So these things, they start affecting you and get cemented on that little child that you were, who decides to then reject themselves and also anything that's different. You start projecting that same thing onto others as well. If you were not accepted for maybe your free spirit, then slowly you will grow up projecting that same thing onto others, judging them, rejecting them, shaming them for having a free spirit. Why? Because that thing is triggering, or rather making your inner child uncomfortable. Now, does that inner child deserve our anger right now? Absolutely not. It deserves the love. It deserves to be free now that we know about it. Right? So if you are grown at a particular place, get certain amount of information, which is like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of what universe has to offer. Everything that you get, even the information, every single thing, your emotions, beliefs, every single thing, it's very limited. And to be in complete harmony with the universe, you have to receive and you have to give. But the thing is that you can give only what you have. But if what you have is limited, which is less, all these exclusionary things, this rejection of others and yourself, you'll keep on giving from this limited space. So your giving will also not be abundant. It won't be free. It won't be harmonious. You'll be taking in a very limited manner because you're rejecting before receiving, and also then giving from whatever little you have. And this is maybe where the blockages in your chakras lie, which eventually turn into blockages on physical health and a lot of things. So if you find it difficult to accept love, you'll find it difficult to give love as well, freely. Why? Because maybe there was fear of abandonment. There is fear of abandonment, of cheating, betrayal, or whatever. I'm not saying don't be mindful. Viveka or discrimination is also a very important concept. It's an important trait to have, rather, instead of just being a concept. But the idea is that you have to know that the source from which you are getting, the source that you are, the source that you have come from, is unlimited and infinite. So if you are giving from that source, by realizing that you are just the vessel, because once this vessel is gone, you'll be back to this state. So you are using yourself, rather, just as a vessel to pass that thing on, whether it's love, teaching, anything that you can, sharing, even a head massage to someone that you love, any act of service, that will create a flow, because you're doing it not to take anything in return, even if it's maybe picking up a wrapper on a footpath and then just throwing it in the bin. You're using this beautiful vessel that you have to do whatever little that you can, but from an unlimited space. You're not being limited. Similarly, when you are giving something to somebody, you are giving from an unlimited space when you are connected to that unlimited self, when you know that you are beyond it all. And now, for whoever has not seen the Kali video, where I'm talking about a lot of things, including conditioning and how we are unlimited, etc., I would recommend that you watch it. So, the thing is that when you start self reflection, when you start knowing yourself for who you are, your story, and then you start studying where exactly did your story arise, me and my story, that me keeps on collecting itself around you, and then everything starts becoming very body oriented, and then you forget your true nature. Oh wow, it starts looking like a web again, mayajal, web of cosmos, the cosmic illusion. Exactly. I think this was cosmically done to explain the point. You start trapping yourself into these beliefs. You start cementing that illusion of separation between me and you and them, earth and heaven, and everything in the universe works in harmony. It is at rest, you know at peace. It acts when it needs to. It's not trying to please anyone. It's not trying to be what it is not. A hippo doesn't care that you call it a hippo, or that you like a panda more. No one cares. They are just being themselves. So why can't we as humans? Why? Because we've been told that we have to be a certain way. To what? To please society, parents, partners, children, family, ourselves. And then we keep on trapping ourselves into these same webs for the rest of our life. I think most of you might be aware of the story of Tower of Babel. It is said that humans were once united, and then they started building this huge tower, and God felt a little threatened, and then there was this lightning, and everybody got spread into different parts of the world. I think this is in Genesis. So when they got spread, it was said that this is how languages and cultures developed. Because if they would have been united, they could have reached gods or maybe built a tower even bigger than the realms of God. This is what unity can do to humanity, that you realize the oneness, you realize the truth, that there is no me and my story. The story, of course, your story is what only you can say. But that's also the point, right? You've been given that story to speak about that story, to share that story, and maybe to live that story, to maybe show the world that this is how to be. But at the same time, that story is not you. It's the story of your body, of your role, of your name. But what is you then? So, all this, getting over conditioning, finding what your truth is, not my truth. Whatever I'm speaking, of course, it is coming from my experiences and everything. So, this is also my truth. Take all this also with a grain of salt if you are here listening to this. Or what your parents' truth is, what your society, history, habits, every single thing's truth is. Sit with yourself. ask, is this my truth? The answer would be no. Then ask about the society's truth. Is this my truth? No. And when you keep on asking yourself and cutting down on the truths that you've been holding so dear, you'll realize that you never even thought about what your truth is. For example, say your name is Jack. What is Jack like? What do you think is the truth? What do you think is right for you? What do you want with your life? The realization of the self and all these things, they come even later. First off, we have to start centering ourselves and realizing that maybe the life that we are living is the life that the society or somebody else wants us to live. Maybe the culture wants us to live. This is not the life that I want to live. Even if you find yourself spiraling into maybe sadness or whatever, you have to ask yourself, where does this come from? Then is my sadness or whatever, is it my own? Are these things that I want from the world or from the universe, do I really want them, or do I want everybody else to see that I want them? So you have to start differentiating between your ego, right, and your atma. The thing is that this has to go. It's not easy, but it is possible. So first task is to sit with yourself every single day. Keep on asking, yourself, who am I? That self inquiry that we talk about. Keep on asking, is it me? The answers might mostly be no, it's not. Something will be your emotion, another will be your belief, another will be your body, and whatnot. And once you keep on going back, you'll realize that only the self remains, that unchangeable self which is not affected. For example, you had a dream, the dream got completely destroyed, and then you sit for this meditation. You ask yourself, who are you? You say, I am Rohan, let's say. Are you Rohan? Is this name yours? No, it was given to me by my parents. You keep on cutting that off, you keep on removing those layers. Your soul, it exists across time and space, right? Take any deity or whatever, for example. If somebody else prays to that same deity from India, America, Japan, or Australia, or maybe Barbados, that deity will connect with all of them the same way. Why? Because the time and space does not exist for that spirit. And what makes you think that you are just this body, since this body is so perishable? Once that's done, then what? All these concepts and everything that's related to this particular body, my belief system, my emotions, my body, my parents, my country, my, all of that will go. So the first step to individuation is to know what exactly is yours. The feelings that you're feeling, your dreams, every single thing. Keep on asking yourself. And then stop rejecting the parts of yourself. You don't have to judge others or yourself, shame others or yourself, reject others or yourself. All the parts which you now might hate in others or within you, they had a purpose. It is said that every effect is cause revealed and every cause is effect concealed, which means both of them have seeds for each other within themselves. So, whatever happened in your life, it has come from some cause and now is becoming the cause for some other effect, right? But the entire purpose of this process of self realization or Swadhyaya and everything is to get out of these circles of cause and effect, these constant patterns, these cycles that we keep on living our lives in, the death and rebirth that keeps on happening over and over again because we didn't learn our lesson. So I'm not really sure how clear I am in explaining all this, but I really wanted to share this. Anyway, for example, if you come from a family of people who were refugees, then no matter how safe you grow up, there will be the seed of abandonment in your root, right? Because there's ancestral wounding coming, and then there's a lot of stuff that happened around you maybe when you saw it, and your parents carried it, that particular wound. Now you'll feel insecure and abandoned even in relationships, your career, and then slowly you'll start abandoning yourself as well without really knowing where this is coming from. That's how the blockages in chakras are created. So similarly, every chakra results in different kind of blockages, but all of them are not without a reason. All of them are when we are separated from the source, when we don't know what our true self is, when we don't study ourselves, our patterns, the way that we respond and behave. And the more we keep on separating ourselves from others, the more we'll keep on deepening this particular illusion that we are the body, we are the mind, because we are not. Now, if you don't clearly know who you are, what you want, what maybe that little Jack or Rohan wanted when they were kids, you'll keep on creating from that sense of rejection or approval. You'll want to be a good boy or a good girl. So, when you started to make yourself smaller, you stopped seeking expansion, you stopped seeing big dreams, and you stopped being yourself basically. Processes like these, or especially when you start understanding all this, or start meditating on yourself, and self as in the small s, and start understanding your patterns and behaviors. What are the things that make you angry, happy, sad, afraid, emotional, and every single thing. When you start micro observing all your reactions, it can elicit a lot of anger within you, because you realize how a lot of your responses, a lot of the things that happened, they were not even in your control. They were given to you, they were handed over to you, while you might have grown up blaming yourself for certain things. And the more that happens, and the more you blame, shame, reject, become smaller, the more scattered your mind becomes. Your senses start seeking happiness elsewhere. They want a different dopamine hit every now and then, different relationship, next big thing. Now, what next? What next? What better? Because they are not innately happy. They are not innately satisfied. Why? Because they don't trust anything. So, all of that also comes from conditioning. And when your mind is scattered, all your senses are scattered, your body does not work in coherence with your mind. Every action that you do will maybe, either you'll put absolutely no effort, or you'll put way too much effort in it. You'll maybe work to burnout. But when these things connect, because now you know that what you're doing is what you want for yourself, not what somebody else wanted for yourself, that action will become right action. And that can happen only when you're centered, only when you have a sense of self that's very strong, that's not scattered, that's not chasing the next big thing. When you don't care about apman or bhai. It's a quote by Lord Shiva in this show that's telecasted in India. It says, na apman ka bhai, na samman ka moh, which means Lord Shiva, he doesn't fear insult, and he doesn't crave for acceptance either, or praise either, because whatever he is, he just is. He's centered, he knows who he is. He's not trying to seek anybody's approval or fearing rejection. For example, if all of these things happen, the first thing that they attack, of course, is our sense of self or respect for our true selves. So we either stretch ourselves too thin, or we become very isolated, we stop performing, or we overperform. We get too burdened because we have to prove ourselves. The self aligned action, however, it will happen only when you know who you are. That is why Swadhyaya is very important. Keeping on asking yourself, what is it that you believe is the truth, your truth, not your story's truth, not your belief system's truth, not your emotions truth, your truth. And when you see that, when you see your reactions and how they are formed by a lot of things that happened to you as a child, you'll start observing how everything within you is reflected outside, is what is happening outside. Everything that's happening outside is a mirror of something that's within you. And if you get triggered, it means that there is a lesson. All display of Maya is nothing but, say, a film on the screen. But the screen, it is unaffected by the film, right? The moment this film ends, another begins. That screen remains there. When you go to a theater or maybe a play or whatever, that stage remains same. The actors keep changing. That's what our soul is. It'll keep changing costumes, it'll keep changing, the pictures and the movies, but that screen or the stage will remain the same. I don't know how correctly I've been able to articulate whatever I feel, but the baseline is that starting today, you have to realize that maybe everything that you know, everything that you see, you believe, has been handed over to you, and maybe not just yours. If a family has a family enemy or a family friend, there has to be a reason, but they don't necessarily have to be your enemy or your friends. Now, I'm not saying go about, you know, letting everybody do whatever they want, even if they are being manipulative or cheats or whatever. But the idea here is to remove the lenses, the judgments, and be centered within yourself. Be that observer of everything that's happening and not someone who is taking part in this play. Because the more judgment you put outside, you project, you attract more of it. Whatever you give, you keep on attracting. We talked about this here. And if you see the world from this limited sense, then world will also see you from a very limited lens. But if you see everything as potential god, maybe as god in drag, because all the bad things that are happening in the universe are also a part of the play, things that tell us what should not happen, some things which are very very painful to see or to witness, they happen. And then sometimes they evolve a collective consciousness. A lot of people connect to their true selves or gods because of that. And if you don't believe in gods, let's say their true self, their inner sun. Here, when you see this eye, it's half closed and half open, which means it's closed to the world but open to its inner self. Here's the book, and then there's transformation all around. This eye is, however, open. This is the all seeing eye, the observer self. So the moment you close yourself to the outside world, all these impulses and all this information overload and whatnot, social media and news, fighting which politician is better, which actor is better, who I am a fan of, or whatever, you have to close yourself to it and you have to see within. The only stage that must be set for you at that particular time is the stage that you are sitting on, and then you have to see yourself as an audience. That is when true transformation happens. Just like electricity, same electricity passes through a toaster, it passes through a bulb, it passes through, say, a washing machine, but the electricity is same, right? Similarly, my consciousness, your consciousness, or anybody else's consciousness, even if it's an ant, it's the same. Which is why, let's say, some people who can sit anywhere in the world and can resonate with others. Why? Because we are taking those messages from that same consciousness. And if you have that karma, that destiny, that rinanubandha, or the karmic debt, with me or anybody else who resonates with you, it'll be fulfilled. But that source is the same, which means the lessons which that source can give are also the same. It's just that some vessels are ready and others are not. So we have to open our vessel to get those lessons, to accept those lessons, and empty ourselves for whatever we think we are. Because maybe we are not that. Maybe that is what we think we are, as somebody else told us. You have to be a good man. A good man does this. A good woman does this. A good parent is like that. Let go. Let go of all of that. See what is true for you. See what is in the highest good of all, not just you. See what is the most compassionate, most understanding, or the most all encompassing way to see something, to do an action. That is when you'll connect to that unlimited source. That is when you'll realize that even when this body is gone, the soul remains, in its true state. And every action that you are doing here, which will be, of course, given your name, will be co-created by the universe. Because now you are open, you're open to receive from that unlimited source and create for unlimited amount of beings, maybe for centuries to come. That limitedness, if that's a word, has to go, and that will go only once you recognize it. So that recognition has to be there. Sometimes sudden loss, death, and all these things, they lead to that recognition, but it's not necessary. We are not being self-centered, when we are centering ourselves, bringing our senses back from different things. connecting with our body, using our body as a vessel to create what universe wants to create through us, the purpose that universe has, and we are just an instrument to fulfill that purpose. We are not being self-centered. We are just recognizing that we are a spiritual being, or we have taken this form, that we are avatars ourselves. We are playing this role. And when you do that, a lot of things that you hate about yourself, maybe they'll come up. They say when Samudra Manthan happened, a lot of venom came out first, and then the nectar came out. The churning of the ocean, the great churning of the ocean, from which a lot of things came out. Devis and diamonds and jewels and everything. So that venom was taken by Lord Shiva, which is why he's called Neelkant. He has a blue neck, all of that. But that nectar also came out from that particular churning, that event of churning. So first you'll have to be willing and courageous to let the venom come out too. Things that you will hate about others, about yourself, everything. But you have to make a conscious choice not to project, not to blame, not to reject. Why? Because cause effect. That in itself, I think, is a teaching that frees you. And when it does, everything that happens later is happening through you, not to you. It's coming, it's happening, and you are here observing. So this K for karma, it starts losing its control on you, because you'll see that there is no doership. There's no one that's doing it. It's all consciousness. There are all those arguments about everything that's bad that's happening, and that is what karma is, right? Again, cause and effect, whether today or maybe 10 years later, will happen. They both have seed of each other within them. So whatever part of yourself that you might want to hate, we are not going to hate that, promise me. We are going to integrate it, not reject, blame, shame. We have to do this because we have to free ourselves, because those parts were needed at maybe those particular times for this to happen, for A, B, C, D, let's say. For D to happen, A, B, C have to happen. For you to come to this realization that you need to free yourself, maybe that you are repentful about certain things, those things had to happen. Maybe you're not able to forgive anyone. I'll link that channeling as well. Those things have to happen, because as they say that the self reveals only to those that it wants to. So if you are here, then it means that you have this potential of self realization, trust me, because that is the intention that I set, that only those who will benefit from the teaching will come here, because not every vessel is ready. So if you are here, this is for you. You have that potential, and that will happen only when you see yourself as you are. You are that universe, and you are also this body that has that universe in it. You are inhabiting that universe. You're a part of it, or rather just universe in motion. I don't remember who said this. I think it was Rumi who said it. But for this, meditation is non-negotiable, by the way. You have to stop giving away your power to everybody. You have to be very mindful of your boundaries. Every time blame, rejection, anger, shame, anything arises, let it arise, observe. Let it arise, even if it's fear. Let it arise, observe, and let it pass. It's arising in your body, in your mind. If you are afraid of something, say, you'll be afraid of maybe rejection, you'll be afraid of death, loss, any kind of trigger. Who are those triggers or whatever losses happening to? The body or the mind, this sense of identity that we have. But if I know that my identity or my worth, it comes from that infinite source, whatever happens in the world, it will stop affecting me. Somebody can stand in front of you and maybe abuse you. You won't be phased by it. Why? Because whatever they are saying, it is because of their conditioning. They are doing it because maybe something in their life happened which made them miserable, and now they are projecting all of that onto you because maybe you are triggering something in them. So is that for you, the real you? So maybe all of those projections are on your body and everything, because you are embodied, you are here in the world. But your soul, it's not affected by it. Your true self is not affected by it. See yourself and also others like God does. With that eye of justice, eye that does not differentiate. If you believe in Kali or maybe Jesus, do you think that When a sinner goes to him, or maybe a saint goes to him, he sees them the different way. Do you think that Kali cares? Because they are beyond karma. They see you for who you are. They see your intention to know them and yourself. And then to realize this oneness, that they were never different from you. They were never away. I hope I'm making sense. And if I am, I would love to know if it actually helped anybody. So now going back to what you can do for Swadhyay, how you can study yourself. Meditation, as I said, it's non-negotiable. You have to do it. Don't think that you will understand or realize all this in a day. Maybe you can watch this today, meditate for a couple of days straight, then watch it again. Maybe you'll be able to make sense of a couple more messages. Give yourself months or maybe years, and keep on giving yourself time. It's okay. But you also have to make conscious decisions, choices, which prevent you into spiraling into those reactions, which are elicited. Why? Because of your ego. Ask yourself, what are you trying to defend when you are getting angry? What are you trying to hold back when you cry, when you get angry? Maybe when you go to temples or when you see nature and everything, you feel very overwhelmed and start crying. Why is that? Because your nervous system starts feeling safe, secure. It realizes its own expansion, expansiveness, and also how grand this world is and how you are one with everything, how this nature is not away from you. You have all of that within yourself. When you breathe, you are taking in air. When you are dreaming, there's ether. Or when you are trying to know yourself, when you are meditating, when you digest anything, when you act on anything, it's inner fire. Your body is like 70% of what made of water. This flesh, it came from earth and it'll go back to earth. So all of these elements, they are within you. But the thing is that you are the one who is failing to notice them. You are the one who's not understanding how nothing except humans is in a rut or a rush. Only we are, because of these flimsy goals that we set for ourselves, that we have to achieve this and that by this particular age. Of course, that's fine. But are those goals yours? And that you'll know only when you study yourself, only when you're able to make those effortless efforts. You won't have to work very hard on something that's aligned with your soul. It'll just flow naturally. And when that happens, you keep on creating for the sake of creating, for the love of it, and not to please anybody. I think I've repeated the message quite a lot. Anyway, so scriptures, if you don't want to read that, that's fine. You can read books, commentaries, and then process all of that on your own. Start understanding all of that on your own. Don't seek opinions, advices, just yet. Maybe later, maybe when you can't understand anything for years on stretch. But your first course of action will be your own understanding. Have a notebook, keep on writing, your truth, how you see it. For example, if you're reading Gita, read it and try to reflect on what the truth is for you, not anybody else. What you would comment if you were the commentator, not just anybody else's commentaries. And if you're reading commentaries, then use those margins, put some pressure on your brain to think outside of those lines. Journal every morning, no matter what you do. Journal every morning. Try to curb on your scattering, this idle talk or gossip and news and whatever takes your attention away. Doom scrolling. Keep your senses in check. Everything is fine, but the moment it starts going haywire is when you start getting addicted to the pleasures of the senses, whether it's what you're seeing, whether it's what you're hearing, or whatever, food, every single thing. Beyond a certain point, it'll breed even more karma. It'll create imbalances within your chakras. So it's like almost like a loop. Imbalance in a chakra affects something, and then the more that you do it, the more that chakra is affected, and it keeps on going. That is how we keep on performing those same patterns over and over again. And when we don't focus on that repatterning, that's how we come here, die, and then come here again, and then die, and this also keeps on going. So this is your chance to cut. Swadhyaya is all about that, about realizing your true nature. And the book that I would recommend is Ashtavakra Gita by Swami Chinmayananda. That is the best one, apart from meditation, of course. And then maybe you can watch lectures by Swami Sarpriyananda on YouTube on different Upanishads. That's also very helpful. So once that is done, journaling every day, every single day, it'll bring a lot of subconscious clutter onto the surface. You'll know and realize why you do the things that you do. What was it that triggered that pattern within you, which is now, that habit within you, which has now become a pattern? Maybe you were not loved as a child, and now you think that giving yourself all the way to everybody would bring love, no matter how much abuse is coming from the other side, and you keep on disrespecting or sabotaging your boundaries for that. Again, that approval seeking and people pleasing thing. So a lot of patterns will come up. What is it that you truly want, and how much of approval you seek, or how much self respect you have? I think both of them, they kind of are like axis. The more approval you seek from someone, the less self acceptance you have, and maybe your performance will also depend on it. So if you seek a lot of approval and you have almost no self acceptance, you'll keep on burning yourself, burning out. And here for me, self acceptance also resonates a lot with self respect, because why would you do that to yourself if you respected yourself, right? Maybe if you don't care about approval and you accept yourself completely, you'll do this, right action, because you know that this is what your soul wants. If you don't want approval at all and accept yourself as you are, then you'll be like a sage. The people who, they don't crave constant ambition, constant working, and they don't really strive too much. They are happy with what they are doing, basically. So they don't have those ambitions of becoming a millionaire or billionaire or whatever. They'll be happy. But the downside, I think, is that they'll become passive as well. Then we talked about self inquiry. You keep on asking until and unless the answer comes that you are the spirit in this body. Keep on going back, keep on going back over and over again. Everything else is conditioning, emotions, beliefs, and whatnot. Lastly, when you've become an observer of everything that's happening, you are just observing and not judging. You're letting things be, and maybe people be as well. You become completely okay with who you are. You accept that maybe you are a certain way and the other person is a certain way. That striving to change yourself or anybody else, it'll go away, and now you'll become completely free of wasted efforts. You'll come into complete acceptance of things as they are happening. Most of our problems arise from that push and pull, right, of that resistance. For me, the idea of this teaching is, of course, to come out of that resistance and complete acceptance, compassion for whatever is happening. Another thing that you can do is solar plexus. When we do that, when we are sabotaging our self-respect and a lot of things, and we're scattering our mind and energy, it is always the solar plexus, which is harmed. It might have been harmed as a child, or maybe you carried these sanskars in your past lives. So we have to work on that. You can wear yellow. You can work with fire element. You can find a lot of things on YouTube for that. Then there is Mahamrityunjay mantra. This is the mantra for immortality, which means freeing oneself from birth and death. All these lessons and cycles, it'll keep on clearing your karma. If you want to transmute your karma, here I'm talking about clearing the karma, which means not having to come back again, freeing yourself from samsara, transcending everything like Shiva does. We talked about him, and not having to come here again to learn these lessons. This is basically learning and then transcending, which means it will hasten your karma also. It'll quicken your karma. So sometimes it leads to tower moments in one's life. So do that. Of course, it gives a lot of peace and everything also, but then there are tests as well. So if you're not ready for that, maybe then you can do this maybe once or twice. Here we are praying to him, just like a cucumber gets separated from the stalk. Maybe be separated, from this bondage. But if you want to transmute your karma, which means, say you have some karma which is very heavy, and you still don't know what those patterns are, and they keep on repeating themselves. For example, you keep on getting angry a lot, right? Now you've worked on yourself, you try to control yourself and everything. Now there must be some patterns, right? And you're not able to recognize what they are, and they keep on creating this spiral for you. It doesn't seem to end. You can use violet flame. It's by Saint Germain, violet flame of Saint Germain. He might turn your anger into maybe some creative project. Transmute your anger. transmuting negative energy into positive energy. That's also very helpful. But you might feel very lethargic or sleepy after this. Of course, it depends upon the amount of energy that you're releasing, but yeah. And every single day, without any doubt, try to know thyself. Every single day, because you are beyond it all. You are beyond the doshas, the gunas, even the koshas, because all of that also happens because you have a physical body. So we have to transcend the ego which keeps us trapped in this body. I, me, mine, the smaller self. Everything revolves around you. No, it doesn't. So I think that's where I would like to end this video. If it was helpful, I would definitely love to know, and I would love to know your perspectives as well. I am also a learner, I am a student, and I'm open to every kind of perspective that comes my way, and then maybe inculcate if it helps me. Thank you so much. Thank you.